Hi, it's Mike Stephenson here. We're taking a look at cost optimization and particularly right sizing and how Serverless 360 can help you do that. So we have a typical cost optimization cycle here where customers will be analyzing cost, monitoring cost, and the bit we're going to look at here is the optimization section. So we see a few key areas here, such as right size, and we've got things like reservations, we've got things like schedules. Those are the key areas that Serverless 360 looks at. When it comes to right sizing, we first off we need to identify the types of resources that we can look to right size. So some of the typical candidates you might look for would be things like virtual machines, SQL databases, app service plans. These are typical compute nodes where you can usually optimize the plan to get the right compute for the workloads that you need to run. I guess Kubernetes would be another good example of that. You also have PaaS services, so things like a Cosmos DB here would be another good candidate where choosing the right plan, factoring in the right performance factors can save you significant costs. There's other things like storage which come into play for choosing the right tiers for how you're going to store your data. Now, when you're picking your right sizing candidates, the next step after you've chosen potential resources you could right size would be looking at the resource utilization. So here we have some of the key things you would be looking at for things like a virtual machine or a database. These performance metrics would tend to vary based on the type of resource that you're looking to optimize. So having an understanding between the relationship of what you spend in terms of cost and what metrics you would monitor is the key to getting that right size and correct. So when we make a right size and choice, we really end up looking at a resource and having to make one of a couple of decisions. So one of the key things that many companies might miss is this idle state. So it's possible you might have a resource where you decide that resource isn't being used anymore and there's a decommissioning opportunity. So removing unused resources, especially if you've been an Azure user for a long period of time, that's a great way where you could be spending money for something you're not getting any value from. So those are great low hanging fruit for cost optimization. The next one would be upsize. So it's possible that you might have a resource that is being used too much for the size of plan. So when we right size, it's not just about reducing the amount of money we spend, it's about choosing the right plans and the right size for the workload we're doing. So it's possible that a right size recommendation could say upgrade because you need more resources. The one that we're looking for is downsize. That's the one that we're often going to find where we save money, where we've got a plan or a database that's too big based on the usage it's getting. So those are the ones where we could reduce the size and we could have cost savings. And then when things are shown up as the correct size, that's where we would see this no change recommendation. So if we start looking at some serverless 360 screens here, so when we build our cost management module, you have the option to build a tree view here. So I'm just looking at the root of the tree at the moment, but you could actually build a hierarchical structure to help you model the costs for your organization. And in our optimization area over here, we're looking at this right sizing piece. So here you can see that based on the resources I've got available in this particular node on that tree, I've got a bunch of resources that have some right sizing opportunities on them. We can see here we've got a virtual machine that's showing this idle state. So the first thing I would be looking at is actually I'm spending currently $180 for that machine. If I don't actually need it, then I could get rid of it and save $180 a month. So that would be a state shown as idle. That could be a potential decommissioning opportunity. Next up, we've got downgrades. So here you can see I've got quite a few resources here. Like, for example, this looks like a VM scale set. So here the recommendation is if you downgrade the size, so you can see the current plan here and the recommended plan based on usage. So we can downgrade that VM scale set, and that would, in this case, we can see we're going to reduce our cost from 276 to 82. So we're going to get a quite nice cost saving just on that resource because it's over provisioned. It's too big for the workloads it's running. So Serverless 360 can help you identify possible right sizing opportunities. Now, if you wanted to look at more detail at one of these, you can just click on the recommendation. It'll open up some options here. Now, in this case, you've got the ability to look at some of the metrics here about the utilization of this resource, and you can investigate why that recommendation's being made. You can then choose, so we've got the option here, you can see that's the current SKU, that's the recommended SKU. So we would have two choices of how we could execute this. So option number one, if you choose to configure Serverless 360 with the right permissions, you could apply that right size and change straight from Serverless 360. So you would have to give Serverless 360 the right RBAC permissions in Azure to allow it to do that. The other option is you can take the recommendation, you could then go to your DevOps platform, maybe you modify your Terraform script or your Bicep script, and you could roll that change out via a DevOps pipeline into your various environments if you wanted to follow a DevOps process as well. So we've got a couple of choices where some customers might choose to just do it straight from Serverless 360. Other customers might choose a DevOps process. Sometimes we have a problem where the right size is different depending on the period of time. So we have another really cool feature in Serverless 360 where we have a scheduler that you can resize resources based on the period of time. So here's a couple of examples from the products. Up here on the top left, I've defined a work day or a work week where the green items here, they indicate times where I want my system to be up, and the red items would be times I want it to be down. So I can just define the working week between 9 and 6. We want to bring on our resources online, and then we'll turn them off when everybody goes home at the end of the day. So that would be really good for things like non-production environments where you might want UAT to be online when people are testing and turned off when they're not. Now, you can do this kind of thing with a DevOps skill set if you wanted to build a load of automation scripts and DevOps pipelines, but that takes quite a significant skill set to do it. And because your architecture probably changes quite regularly, the maintenance overhead of that would be significant. So this is where the scheduler feature comes in, where you just define your schedule. On the right here, you can see where I would choose the resources that I want to add to it. So in the case of this app service plan, I can configure it so maybe when it's up, I might choose a standard plan instead of free, and then when it's down, I might change it back to free. And that's how you can configure the resizing of a plan to happen based on that schedule. So you can see we've got a bunch of choices for other resource types, and you could have multiple schedules for different teams, different applications, and hopefully that gives you another choice for a dynamically changing option where the right size isn't the same all the time. Coming back to our cycle here, so after we've made these optimizations, we've done the right sizing here. The next step that you're going to be looking at is what is the impact of those changes. So through the analysis parts of Serverless 360, you might see the impact showing your graphs had gone down, and then you can update your monitoring. So maybe you've got a daily budget, so you might reduce the budget because you've optimized a bunch of resources, so you can be more aggressive with your monitoring for the cost, and then that would be looping it back into another optimization session where we look for more cost savings. Maybe we're right sizing, maybe we're scheduling, or maybe we're doing some reservations on Azure. Hopefully that gives you a good overview of some of the capabilities in Serverless 360. Thank you for listening to today's video.